the Persians forged the greatest empire of the ancient world, leaving an indelible mark on human history. Their vast dominion stretched from the Indus to the Nile, shaping cultures and civilizations in its wake. As we embark on this journey, the ghosts of Persepolis whisper secrets of a bygone era, beckoning us to unravel the mysteries of an empire that once was. In the vast expanse of the ancient Near East, where the sun rises over the rugged mountains of modern-day Iran, the seeds of the Persian Empire were sown. The region of Persis, from which the empire would derive its name, was a land of stark contrasts. Snow-capped peaks gave way to arid deserts, and fertile valleys nestled between rocky outcrops. It was here, in the 7th century BCE, that the ancestors of the Persian people began to coalesce into a distinct cultural and linguistic group. The early Persians were an Indo-European-speaking people, closely related to the Medes, another powerful nation that would play a significant role in the formation of the empire. As the Persians developed their unique identity, they were influenced by the cultures of the surrounding regions, the Elamites to the west, the Babylonians to the southwest, and the Scythians to the northeast. This cultural melting pot would eventually give rise to a distinctive Persian civilization, characterized by its own language, customs, and traditions. One of the earliest recorded Persian rulers was Achaemenes, a minor king who lived in the 7th century BCE. Although little is known about his reign, Achaemenes is significant because he is believed to have founded the Achaemenid dynasty, which would eventually produce some of the most famous Persian rulers, including Cyrus the Great and Darius I. The name Achaemenid would become synonymous with the Persian Empire, and its legacy would endure for centuries. As the Persians continued to develop their society, they were organized into a system of tribes, each with its own leader and customs. This tribal structure would later be adapted into a more complex administrative system, allowing the Persians to govern their vast empire efficiently. The early Persians were also skilled warriors, using their knowledge of the rugged terrain to their advantage in battles against neighboring tribes. In the mid-7th century BCE, the Persians found themselves under the dominance of the Median Empire, a powerful state that had risen to prominence in the region. The Medes, under the rule of King Cyaxares, had expanded their territories through a series of military campaigns, and the Persians were forced to pay tribute to their Median overlords. However, this period of subjugation would ultimately prove beneficial for the Persians, as they were able to learn from the Medes' administrative and military systems, laying the groundwork for their own future empire. As the Persians continued to live under Median rule, they began to absorb the cultural and administrative practices of their overlords. The Medes, in turn, had been influenced by the Assyrians, who had once dominated the region. This complex web of cultural exchange would ultimately shape the Persian Empire's own system of government, art, and architecture. One notable example of this cultural assimilation is the adoption of the Median system of governance, which divided the empire into satrapies or provinces, each governed by a satrap or governor who was responsible for collecting taxes, maintaining order, and upholding the king's authority. The Persian king, Cyrus the Great's grandfather, Cambyses I, played a significant role in this period of Median dominance. Although he was a vassal of the Median king, Astyages, Cambyses I, managed to maintain a degree of autonomy for the Persians. He even formed an alliance with the Lydians, a powerful kingdom in western Anatolia, which would later prove beneficial for the Persians in their expansion into Asia Minor. The Median king, Astyages, however, began to view the growing power of the Persians with suspicion, and he eventually decided to take action against them. In approximately 559 BCE, Astyages launched a military campaign against the Persians, but his efforts were thwarted by the cunning and bravery of Cyrus the Great's father, Cambyses II's son. Cyrus I is not well known, however. It was his son who would change the course of history. The Median army was defeated, and Astyages was taken prisoner, marking the beginning of the end of Median dominance over the Persians. This pivotal event paved the way for the rise of the Achaemenid Empire under Cyrus the Great, who would go on to conquer a vast portion of the known world, creating one of the largest empires in history. Cyrus the Great's early life is shrouded in mystery, but it is believed that he was born around 600 BCE in the city of Anshan, which was an important center of Persian culture and learning. As a member of the royal family, Cyrus would have received a thorough education in the arts of war, governance, and diplomacy, preparing him for his future role as king. The cultural and historical context in which Cyrus lived was marked by the decline of the Assyrian Empire and the rise of new powers in the region, including the Medes and the Lydians. This complex geopolitical landscape would ultimately shape the course of Cyrus's military campaigns and the expansion of the Persian Empire. As Cyrus began to consolidate his power, he faced numerous challenges, including the need to unite the various Persian tribes and secure the loyalty of his nobles. He achieved this through a combination of military victories, strategic alliances, and wise governance, earning the respect and admiration of his people. One notable example of Cyrus's military prowess is his campaign against the Lydians, which resulted in the capture of the wealthy city of Sardis and the incorporation of Lydia into the Persian Empire. This victory not only expanded Persian territory, but also provided a significant influx of wealth and resources, which would be used to fund future military campaigns and administrative projects. As Cyrus's military campaigns continued to expand the Persian Empire, he turned his attention to the eastern regions, where the Median Empire still held significant influence. In approximately 550 BCE, Cyrus launched a campaign against the kingdom of Parthia, which was a strategic location due to its control of the Silk Road, a vital trade route connecting the east and west. The Parthian king, Astyages' brother Arsaces, attempted to resist the Persian advance, but his forces were ultimately defeated, and Parthia became a satrapy under the Persian Empire. The conquest of Parthia provided Cyrus with a significant advantage in terms of trade and resources, as he was now able to control the flow of goods and ideas between the east and west. He also gained access to the rich natural resources of the region, including gold, silver, and precious gems. The incorporation of Parthia into the Persian Empire marked a significant turning point in Cyrus's campaign, as it allowed him to consolidate his power and prepare for further expansion. Cyrus's next major campaign was against the kingdom of Babylon, which was then ruled by King Nabonidus. The Babylonian Empire was a major power in the region, with a rich cultural heritage and significant military strength. However, the empire was also facing internal strife and external pressures, which made it vulnerable to Persian attack. In 539 BCE, Cyrus launched a campaign against Babylon, using a combination of diplomacy and military force to weaken the kingdom. The Persian army, led by Cyrus's generals Ubaru and Gobryas, marched towards Babylon, taking key cities and fortifications along the way. The Babylonian king Nabonidus attempted to resist the Persian advance, but his forces were ultimately defeated at the Battle of Opis. The city of Babylon itself was then besieged, and after a brief resistance the gates were opened, and the Persian army entered the city. Cyrus himself entered Babylon in triumph, where he was greeted as a liberator by the local population. He took steps to win over the Babylonian nobles and priests, allowing them to maintain their positions of power and influence. The conquest of Babylon marked a significant milestone in Cyrus's campaign, as it gave him control over the rich resources and trade networks of the region. The Persian Empire now stretched from the Indus River in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, and from Egypt in the south to the Caucasus Mountains in the north. Cyrus had created one of the largest empires in history, with a diverse population of people from different cultures, languages, and religions. He took steps to promote tolerance and understanding among his subjects, allowing them to maintain their local customs and traditions. One notable example of Cyrus's tolerance was his treatment of the Jewish community in Babylon. The Jews had been living in exile in Babylon since the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians in 586 BCE. Cyrus allowed the Jews to return to their homeland and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, which had been destroyed by the Babylonians. This act of kindness earned Cyrus a special place in Jewish history and mythology. As the Persian Empire continued to expand under Cyrus's wise leadership, he turned his attention to the administration of his vast territories. He established a system of satrapies, or provinces, each governed by a satrap, or governor, who was responsible for collecting taxes, maintaining order, and upholding the king's laws. This system allowed for a degree of autonomy and flexibility, enabling the Persians to adapt to the diverse cultures and traditions of their conquered territories. One of the most notable satraps was Darius, who had played a key role in the conquest of Babylon. He was appointed as the satrap of Babylon and was tasked with overseeing the reconstruction of the city and the restoration of its temples and infrastructure. Darius proved to be an able administrator, earning the respect and admiration of the local population. He worked closely with the Babylonian priests and nobles, ensuring that the Persian Empire's rule was seen as a benevolent and stabilizing force. Meanwhile, Cyrus continued to expand his empire, launching campaigns against the kingdoms of Lydia and Ionia in western Anatolia. The Lydian king, Croesus, had been a longtime rival of the Persians, and Cyrus saw an opportunity to eliminate a potential threat and gain control of the strategic trade routes that passed through the region. In 546 BCE, the Persian army, led by Cyrus himself, marched into Lydia and defeated the Lydian forces at the Battle of Thymbra. Croesus was taken prisoner, and his kingdom was incorporated into the Persian Empire. The conquest of Lydia gave the Persians control of the rich gold deposits of the Pactolus River and access to the strategic port city of Smyrna. Cyrus also established a series of fortifications and garrisons along the coast of Anatolia, securing his empire's western borders and protecting its trade routes from potential threats. As the Persian Empire continued to grow, Cyrus faced new challenges in maintaining order and stability across his vast territories. He established a network of roads and communication systems, including the famous Royal Road, which stretched from Susa in Persia to Sardis in Lydia. This network enabled the rapid transmission of messages and the movement of troops, allowing the Persians to respond quickly to threats and maintain control over their empire. Cyrus also invested heavily in the development of his capital city, Pasargada, which he had founded in 559 BCE. The city became a symbol of Persian power and culture, featuring grand architecture, beautiful gardens, and a sophisticated system of irrigation. Pasargada was designed to showcase the wealth and majesty of the Persian Empire, and it served as a center of learning, art, and culture, attracting scholars, poets, and philosophers from across the ancient world. Despite his many achievements, Cyrus's reign was not without its challenges. He faced opposition from some of the nobles and satraps who resented his centralized authority and the imposition of Persian rule over their territories. Additionally, the empire's vast size and diversity made it difficult to maintain unity and cohesion, and there were frequent rebellions and uprisings in various parts of the empire. In 530 BCE, Cyrus launched a campaign against the Massagetae, a nomadic people who lived in the eastern regions of the empire. The campaign was sparked by the death of Cyrus's son, who had been killed in a skirmish with the Massagetae. Cyrus marched into the region with a large army, determined to avenge his son's death and assert Persian dominance over the area. However, the campaign proved to be disastrous, and Cyrus was killed in battle, reportedly at the hands of the Massagetan queen Thamyris. The death of Cyrus in 530 BCE marked a significant turning point in the history of the Persian Empire. His son and successor, Cambyses II, ascended to the throne and faced the daunting task of consolidating his father's conquests and maintaining stability across the vast empire. Cambyses II proved to be a capable ruler, but his reign was cut short when he died under mysterious circumstances in 522 BCE while on campaign in Egypt. The power vacuum created by Cambyses' death led to a brief period of turmoil as various factions and pretenders vied for control of the empire. However, the throne was eventually secured by Darius I, a distant relative of Cyrus and a skilled military leader. Darius I, also known as Darius the Great, would go on to become one of the most notable rulers of the Persian Empire, overseeing a period of significant expansion, reform, and cultural achievement. One of Darius's first priorities was to quell the rebellions that had broken out across the empire following Cambyses' death. He campaigned successfully in Egypt, Babylon, and other regions, reasserting Persian authority and restoring order. Darius also implemented a series of administrative reforms, including the creation of a standardized system of weights, measures, and currency, which helped to facilitate trade and commerce across the empire. In addition to his military and administrative achievements, Darius I was also a prolific builder and patron of the arts. He commissioned numerous construction projects, including the famous palace at Persepolis, which became a symbol of Persian power and culture. The palace, with its intricate carvings, ornate decorations, and imposing architecture, was a testament to the wealth and sophistication of the Persian Empire. Darius I also oversaw the development of the Royal Road, a network of roads and highways that stretched over 1,500 miles from Susa in Persia to Sardis in Lydia. The road was built to facilitate communication, trade, and the movement of troops, and it played a crucial role in maintaining the empire's cohesion and stability. As the Persian Empire continued to expand and prosper under Darius I, it also became increasingly cosmopolitan. The empire's vast territories and extensive trade networks brought people from diverse cultures and backgrounds into contact with one another, fostering a rich exchange of ideas, technologies, and artistic styles. The Persian court, in particular, became a center of learning and culture, attracting scholars, poets, and philosophers from across the ancient world. Despite its many achievements, the Persian Empire under Darius I was not without its challenges. The empire faced numerous external threats, including the Scythians to the north and the Greeks to the west. In 490 BCE, the Persians launched a campaign against Greece, but were defeated at the Battle of Marathon, marking a significant setback for the empire. The failure at Marathon was followed by a period of renewed conflict with the Greeks, as the Persians sought to assert their dominance over the region. In 480 BCE, the Persian king Xerxes I, who had succeeded Darius I, launched a massive invasion of Greece, but was ultimately repelled at the Battle of Salamis. The defeat marked a turning point in the history of the Persian Empire, as it began to face increasing pressure from external enemies and internal decay. In 334 BCE, Alexander launched a campaign against the Persian Empire, defeating the satraps and governors who ruled over the various provinces. The Battle of Issus in 333 BCE marked a decisive victory for Alexander, as he defeated the Persian king Darius III and began his march towards Persepolis. In 330 BCE, Alexander's forces captured Persepolis, marking the effective end of the Persian Empire. The city was sacked, and many of its inhabitants were killed or sold into slavery. The palace, with its intricate carvings and ornate decorations, was burned to the ground, symbolizing the destruction of the Persian Empire and the end of an era. The conquest of Persia by Alexander marked the beginning of a new period in the region's history as Greek culture and language became dominant. However, the legacy of the Persian Empire continued to shape the ancient world, influencing the development of art, architecture, and governance in the centuries that followed. The Persians' contributions to governance, art, and culture have left an indelible mark on human civilization, shaping the course of history in profound and lasting ways. Their story serves as a testament to the power of vision, leadership, and cultural exchange, inspiring generations to come. And so, as we bid farewell to the Persians, we're left with a profound appreciation for the enduring spirit of this ancient civilization, whose impact continues to resonate through the ages. Thank you for joining me throughout this historical journey. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.